The sky cracked open like glass breaking in the air. From the hole above, blue lights rained down as ships shaped like arrows cut through the clouds. The city had never seen anything like it before. People froze in the streets, staring up at the strange machines floating above their heads. Jax was standing outside the military academy when the first beam touched the ground. It melted the stone like butter and turned cars into ash. He ran, but not from fear. He had waited for something like this. War had finally come to Earth, but what landed was not a monster. It was a woman. She stepped through the smoke with glowing amber eyes and armor like cracked stone. Her skin was blue, smooth like glass, her head bald but shaped perfectly like a crown. The soldiers laughed at her, calling her a doll. But she did not blink. Jax saw something different in her. While the others aimed their rifles, she moved with calm control. One swing of her hand sent shockwaves that knocked back tanks. Her steps shook the street as if she walked on thunder. "She's just a doll," one of the captains shouted, trying to mock her. But Jax watched her eyes. She didn't look insulted. She looked focused, like she was holding back something bigger than war. Then she smirked and everything changed. With one jump, she crossed the square and landed in front of the mocking captain. Her hand sliced the rifle apart without touching it. Her voice was calm but sharp like a blade in the dark. She said only one thing before moving again. "You shouldn't have said that to me," she whispered, as her hand flicked once. The captain hit the wall like a rag doll. No one laughed after that, not even the other soldiers. Her power was something new to them. Jax stepped forward. He wasn't afraid. He felt curious. He had seen many aliens on screens, but none like her. Not just strong, but proud. Not just deadly, but graceful. And for a moment, he wondered why she was here at all. The others began attacking, throwing stun bombs and electric nets, but none of it worked. The alien girl spun like wind in a storm. Her armor lit up with golden lines, each move sending fire through the air. She danced like a storm in a body. Jax was the only one not fighting. He stood still and watched her clear the field alone. When it was quiet again, she turned to him. Their eyes locked and she tilted her head slightly, curious too. Maybe he was the only one who didn't see her as just a target. He raised his hand slowly, not in fear, but in peace. She didn't speak, but her glow faded slightly as if she accepted his silence. There was something unspoken between them now. Not just survival, but something deeper. Then came the sound of more ships above. Bigger ones. The real invasion had just begun. But Jax didn't move. Neither did she. They both looked up and then looked at each other again. She finally spoke clearly for the first time. "If you survive this," she said, her voice soft but full of fire, "then maybe you are not like the others." Jax didn't understand her words fully, but he understood her tone. It wasn't a threat. It was a challenge. Jax didn't sleep that night. The sky stayed red with light from the alien ships. The city alarms rang for hours. People screamed, but no one came to help. Everyone was running, but Jax was walking toward the danger. He kept thinking about her. The way she moved, the way she stopped an entire squad with her bare hands. She wasn't just a fighter. She was something else. Something Earth had never seen before. They called her a doll, but she was more like a storm wrapped in armor. Jax had never seen anyone like her, and now he couldn't stop thinking about what she had said to him. "If you survive this." It kept ringing in his ears. He reached the center of the city, now burned and broken. Buildings stood like skeletons, roads cracked beneath his feet. But he wasn't alone. In the middle of the square, she was standing, there again, waiting. Her armor was glowing softly now, her face calm but unreadable. She looked at him without blinking. He raised one hand slowly. She didn't move. He stepped closer. Still, she waited, like she was testing him. "Why did you stop?" he asked, standing just a few steps from her. She turned her head slightly, her eyes glowing gold. Her voice came out smooth, like a song hidden in metal. "Because you didn't run." she said. Jax looked around. There were no soldiers now, just ruins and smoke. He didn't know if that meant they had all escaped or all been destroyed. The silence was heavy, like the city was holding its breath. You could have killed everyone, he said, but you didn't. She nodded once. I don't fight children or fools, only those who raise weapons against me. Her words were cold, but not cruel. Then from the sky, a larger ship came down. It was round and black, with claws for landing gear. It hovered like a predator, then opened its side door. More warriors stepped out, but they weren't like her. These ones had no grace, no control, just rage. They pointed weapons and shouted in a language Jax couldn't understand. The girl turned and stepped between Jax and the newcomers. Her armor brightened. Her voice dropped to a whisper. You shouldn't be here, she said to them. They laughed. They didn't take her seriously. One of them spat at her boots. Another raised a blade toward Jax. That was the last thing they did before she moved. In 1 second, she was a blur of motion and power. She tore through them like a windstorm made of knives. Her fists cracked armor. Her kicks broke steel. The black ship shook from the force of her fury. Jax watched in silence, stunned by her strength. When it was over, she stood in the middle of broken metal and broken bodies. Not a scratch on her. She didn't look angry. She looked disappointed. Like she expected better from her own kind. Jax stepped forward. You protected me, he said. She looked at him with a slow blink. You were not the target, she replied. But you stepped into their path. That makes you part of the battle, now. She walked past him then, but paused after a few steps. If you want to live, follow me, she said. If you want to understand what's coming, don't stay behind. And with that, she vanished into the smoke. Jax stood there alone, but not afraid. He took a breath, then followed her into the ruins. Whatever this war was, he had just joined it. The ruins were quiet except for the sound of Jax's boots crunching over broken glass. Smoke still curled up from the cracks in the street. The world felt empty now, like it had paused to watch what would happen next. He followed her footsteps, without speaking. She didn't wait for him, but didn't move too far ahead either. It felt like she wanted him close, but didn't want to admit it. She moved like a shadow with fire under her skin. They passed an overturned tank. Its armor had been melted like wax. Jax stared at it for a second, then moved on. He wasn't sure if she had done it, or something worse had. He didn't ask. He just followed. Finally, she stopped inside the skeleton of an old museum. Statues lay shattered on the floor. Lights flickered above. She turned and faced him. Her voice echoed across the stone. You're not trained. You're not strong. Why? Follow me. Jax looked up at her glowing eyes. Because you didn't kill me, he answered. And because something tells me you need help too. She didn't smile, but something in her eyes changed. It wasn't anger. It was curiosity. You think I need help? She asked. Her tone wasn't soft. It was sharp, like a blade pressed against the truth. I've fought wars longer than your people have built cities. What could you possibly offer me? Jax shrugged. I don't know yet. But I think you didn't come here to destroy everything. If you did, you wouldn't be talking to me. Her silence gave him confidence. So he kept going. You saved me from your own kind. She looked away then. Her armor dimmed a little. They are not my kind, she said. Not anymore. I left their ranks when I refused to kill children. That choice made me a traitor to them. Jax stepped closer. Then you're a traitor to monsters. That makes you something better. She raised her head and stared into his eyes. For the first time he saw pain hidden under her steel shell. I once believed in order, she said. That war had rules. But they broke them. So I broke away. Her voice cracked a little but never lost its strength. Now I fight alone. Until now. Jax nodded slowly. You're not alone anymore." She didn't answer, but she didn't turn away either. The broken light above them flickered again, casting long shadows across her face. Suddenly, an explosion ripped through the side of the museum. Stone and dust flew through the air. Jax hit the floor. The alien girl stood tall, barely moving. Her eyes flashed gold again as new enemies appeared through the smoke. Black armored soldiers stepped out, carrying heavy plasma weapons. They didn't speak. They just aimed. Jax crawled behind a stone block, coughing. She stepped in front of him without hesitation. Her armor shifted like living rock. Sharp lines glowed along her arms. She raised one hand. "They've followed me," she said without fear. "They will not stop until I'm dead. Or they are." The soldiers opened fire. Bright blasts shot toward them. She moved faster than light. Her hands deflected the beams. Her feet danced across broken ground. Jax watched, stunned, as she took down enemy after enemy. It was not rage that powered her. It was control. She didn't fight with wild anger. She fought with purpose. Each strike was precise. Each step had meaning. She wasn't just a weapon. She was a message. When the smoke cleared, only she was standing. Her chest rose and fell slowly. The last soldier lay groaning on the floor. She didn't finish him. She turned to Jax and spoke clearly. "This is your last chance to walk away. You don't owe me anything," she said. Jax stood up, bruised and shaken, but without fear. He looked at her and gave one simple answer. "I'm not walking away. I already chose my side." She stared at him for a moment longer. The way he stood, bruised and tired, yet still firm. He had no weapon, no armor, and no training. But he had something else. Something she hadn't seen in a long time. Loyalty without fear. That was rare, even among her people. She turned her back to him and walked deeper into the ruined museum. Her voice echoed behind her. "Then come. There's something you must see." Jax followed her down a broken staircase that led beneath the ground. Dust filled the air. The walls were covered with old paintings and strange carvings. The deeper they went, the colder it became. At the bottom was a large sealed door. She placed her hand on it. The metal lit up under her touch. Blue lines spread like veins across its surface. The door opened with a hiss, revealing an ancient chamber. In the center was a glowing sphere floating above a pedestal. The light it gave off was soft and steady. The room felt alive. Jax stepped forward slowly, eyes wide. "What is that?" he asked. She didn't look at him. "This is why I came to Earth," she said. "This is a core, a living energy that only chooses one protector every 1,000 years. Your planet hid it. But now it calls again." Jax stared at the orb. It pulsed brighter as he stepped closer. "You mean this thing is alive?" She nodded. "Yes. It chooses warriors not by strength but by purpose. That's why the others want it. They wish to corrupt it." He stopped just a few feet from Thorsi. "So what happens if it chooses the wrong person?" She answered quickly. "Then your world burns. This core will power an army that never stops. That's why I left them, to protect this." Suddenly the orb flared. Light exploded outward. Jax raised his arms to shield his face. When the light faded, the orb was no longer floating. It hovered gently between him and the alien woman. She looked shocked. Her voice dropped. "It reacted to you. That's not possible. You're not trained. You're not even bonded to any system. You're just a human." Jax looked at his hands. They glowed faintly. A thin trace of energy ran up his arms. He didn't feel pain, only warmth. Calm, like the core had touched something deep inside him. He turned to her. Maybe that's the point. Maybe it doesn't want another weapon. Maybe it wants someone different. Her eyes narrowed, studying him like a puzzle she couldn't solve. Before she could speak again, an alarm echoed through the chamber. Red lights flashed from the ceiling. She turned sharply. "They've found us. We have to move now." Jax didn't ask questions. He grabbed the orb, and to his surprise, it didn't resist. It floated alongside him like it had chosen its place. She led the way, sprinting through the dark halls. Above them, the museum shook as enemy ships dropped troops. Explosions broke the roof. Dust and fire rained down. Jax and the alien girl dodged falling debris as they climbed back toward the surface. When they reached the top, dozens of enemy soldiers were waiting, their weapons pointed straight at them. But she didn't slow down. She stopped in front of Jax, armor glowing like fire. "Stay behind me," she said. "Now you carry something more important than me. They'll come for you first." Jax tightened his grip and stood tall. "Then let them try." Her face twitched into something close to a smile. Then she charged forward, blades of light erupting from her arms. The battle had begun again. But this time, she wasn't fighting for herself. This time, she was fighting for him. The battlefield outside the museum lit up with fire and sound. The alien soldiers moved in tight formations, their armor dark and weapons glowing. But she cut through them like a star falling through the night sky. Jax stayed close to the broken wall, the core floating beside him. It gave off a calm light, almost as if it was protecting him. He ducked as a blast hit the ground near him. Smoke and dirt filled the air. She was everywhere at once. Her strikes were clean and fast. Her armor danced with energy as each hit knocked an enemy back. She didn't hesitate. She didn't miss. Her purpose was clear. They tried surrounding her. 6 soldiers moved in from all sides. But she twisted through them, leaving them stunned. On the ground, Jax couldn't look away. It was like watching a storm fight with precision. One of the enemy captains noticed Jax and aimed. "Target the human," he barked. "Take the core." But before the soldier could fire, her blade found his chest. He fell before the words finished leaving his mouth. Jax took a deep breath and ran toward the open street. The core followed him like a loyal friend. Every few steps he glanced back. She was holding the line. She was giving him time. Then a large figure dropped from the sky. It wore heavier armor 3 times her size. Its voice was low and sharp. "You are the traitor," it growled. "And that boy carries the key. You will both die." She didn't answer. She stepped forward slowly. The ground cracked beneath her feet. Her armor shifted. Energy flowed over, her skin like fire wrapping her bones. She raised her arms and met the new enemy head-on. The two clashed in the center of the street. Sparks flew from every strike. His hammer was strong. Her blades were faster. Each move shook the air. Jax could barely stand from the pressure of their fight. He wanted to help but didn't know how. He wasn't a fighter. He looked at the glowing core beside him and whispered, "If there's anything you can do, now's the time." The orb pulsed brighter in response. Suddenly, a wave of force pushed outward from the core. Not violent, but focused. It passed through Jax's body like a warm wind. Then it rushed toward her, surrounding her in light. Her armor changed again. The new energy wrapped around her arms and chest. Her blades extended and became brighter. Her eyes shone like twin stars. The large enemy stepped back for the first time. "What is this?" he asked. She didn't reply with words. She replied with action. Her next strike broke his hammer. Her next kick sent him crashing into a wall. He tried to rise, but she was already there. Her hand glowed as she raised it above him. "I warned you," she said quietly. Then the light from her hand slammed into his chest. His armor shattered. His body went still. The enemy leader was defeated. The remaining soldiers hesitated. They looked at her, then at Jax. Then they turned and fled. Some climbed into their ships, others vanished into the smoke. The battle was over. For now, she turned to Jax, breathing heavy but standing strong. "You did something," she said. "The core answered you. It gave me power I've never felt before." Jax nodded slowly, still shaking. "I didn't know what to do. I just asked it to help," he said. She looked at him, her voice lower now. "You're not just carrying it. You're becoming part of it." Jax looked down at the orb. It pulsed, once more calm and bright. He looked up at her again. "So what do we do now?" he asked. She turned toward the horizon where more ships waited. "We go to finish this war," she answered. The wind was dry as they moved through the scorched city streets. Buildings leaned like tired giants. The sky above flickered with distant fires from enemy ships. Every step they took brought them closer to the heart of the invasion. Jax walked beside her now, no longer trailing behind. The core floated quietly above his shoulder, glowing gently with each breath he took. It no longer felt like a weapon. It felt like part of him. She didn't speak much as they moved. Her eyes scanned the shadows. Her steps were silent but firm. She walked like someone who had seen too much to ever be surprised again. Jax watched her closely. The way she carried her pain without showing it. The way she looked ahead as if the past no longer mattered. And the way her body moved as if war was her natural home. After a long silence, she finally spoke. "We're close. Their central ship is buried underground. That's where the real control signal is hidden. If we destroy it, the army will lose connection." Jax nodded. He didn't fully understand the tech, but he understood purpose. He was here for a reason now. The core had chosen him. She had chosen to fight beside him. And he wouldn't run. They reached the edge of a collapsed parking tower. She pointed down into the crater below. A large black structure pulsed with red lights. Around it, soldiers moved like ants, guarding every path. Jax took a deep breath. "We can't fight them all," he said. She shook her head. "No, but we don't need to. We only need to reach the main chamber and insert the core. It will do the rest." They slid down the broken concrete. Jax winced as sharp edges scraped his arm, but he didn't stop. The core floated closely, almost wrapping him in a layer of light that softened his fall. She moved ahead, cutting down guards before alarms could sound. Each strike was silent and clean. Jax followed her lead, staying low, using shadows as his shield. They reached a back entrance. The door was sealed with alien symbols. She placed her hand on the scanner. For a moment it resisted. Then the lights turned green, and the door opened slowly. Inside, the walls pulsed with red veins of energy. Machines hummed like whispers in the dark. The air felt heavy. The core brightened with each step like it recognized the place. They were close now. Just a few more turns. But then a heavy door slid open in front of them. Another warrior stepped through, bigger than any before. His armor was golden black. His eyes glowed like fire. He looked at her, then at Jax. His voice was cold. "You brought a human here, to our sacred core. You really have fallen." She stepped forward, her blades humming. "This core no longer belongs to tyrants." The warrior raised a massive weapon shaped like a staff. Energy sparked at the ends. He charged forward without warning. She met him head-on. The clash shook the room. Jax watched, heart pounding. She held her own, but this warrior was different. He was stronger, smarter. He fought with patience. He waited for her mistakes. Then one blow knocked her back. Her body hit the wall. She groaned and tried to stand. Jax didn't think. He ran. Porta. The core followed, shining bright enough to blind the warrior. Jax didn't fight with fists. He reached for the console beside the chamber. His hand touched the core's pulse. The light poured into the machine. The walls trembled. The enemy turned too late. Energy burst through the room like a wave of lightning. The gold-armored warrior screamed as he was thrown across the chamber. The lights flickered. The hum of machines turned to silence. She stood slowly, breathing hard. Jax turned to her, his hand still on the console. "Is it done?" he asked. She looked at him, her eyes wide with something new. Hope. The chamber pulsed with blue and gold light as the core completed its link with the console. Jax stepped back, his hands still tingling from the energy. The machines that once hummed with anger now breathed silence. She stood beside him, her armor cracked, her chest rising with each breath. Her eyes never left the core. It had responded to him. It had rejected the enemy, and now it was resetting something deeper. "All command signals are gone," she said. "Their ships, their soldiers, their weapons. All of it disconnected." Her voice sounded lighter, almost surprised by her own words. Jax looked at her and smiled faintly. Does that mean we've won? She didn't answer right away. Instead, she looked up at the walls where glowing lights faded into darkness. Then she nodded. For now, yes. But they'll send more. Not today, but one day. This act makes you a threat to them, and threats are never forgotten by tyrants. Her words carried weight, but no fear. Jax understood now. This wasn't the end. It was the beginning of something much bigger. He had stepped into a war that would stretch across stars. And he wasn't alone anymore. They left the chamber through a side tunnel, avoiding the wreckage of the Golden Warrior. His armor still sparked on the floor. Jax paused for a moment, then kept walking. There was no pride in winning, only duty. Outside, the sky was quiet. The ships that once circled above were now drifting or crashed. Fires still burned in distant streets, but the city had stopped screaming. It was breathing again. She led him to a rooftop where they could see everything. The horizon stretched wide. The sun was rising, pushing back the dark clouds. Light touched every broken tower and shattered street. This place, she said, reminds me of my home before the wars. We had rivers of light and cities that floated in the sky. Then greed took over. And we lost it all. Her voice cracked softly at the end. Jax didn't know what to say. He just stood beside her, letting the silence speak. Sometimes the weight of truth didn't need answers. It just needed someone to share it. She turned to him slowly. You've done something no one else dared. You trusted the core. You stood when you could have run. And now it sees you as its carrier. Her words settled like armor on his shoulders. Jax blinked. So I'm stuck with it now? She gave him a small smirk. It's not a curse, it's a bond. You didn't choose it, but it chose you. And now it's part of your voice, your breath, your fight. He looked at the core. It floated quietly beside him again, as if resting. What if I mess up? What if I'm not ready? She placed one hand on his shoulder, her grip strong and steady. You'll make mistakes, so will I. But the core doesn't need perfection. It needs someone who won't give up. Her tone was calm, like water moving through stone. For a moment, neither of them moved. The city behind them was broken, but not lost. The people would return. The wounds would heal. But the war beyond Earth had just begun. We can't stay here, she said. The ones who sent those warriors will come looking. They'll search the stars and they'll bring fire. Her eyes glowed once more, not with rage but with readiness. Jax nodded. He was scared, but it didn't control him anymore. He looked at her and asked one simple question. Where do we go first? She answered with a whisper just loud enough for the wind to carry, to where the stars still burn with hope. The stars stretched endlessly above them. From the ground they looked like scattered diamonds. But for her, each one held a memory. A war. A loss. A promise, yet to be kept. Jax sat inside the small ship's cockpit, his fingers gripping the sides of the chair. The core hovered silently beside him. It hadn't spoken, yet he could feel its thoughts. Calm, steady, ready. She stood at the controls, guiding the ship through broken satellites and drifting wreckage. Earth's orbit was no longer safe. Too many eyes watched. Too many. Enemies still waited in the dark. The ship was small, barely large enough for two, but it moved with speed and grace. It had no weapons, only wings and hope. It was made for travel, not war. But war would follow them anyway. Jax looked out the window. The planet below was shrinking, his home, his people, all of it now distant. He had left everything behind to carry something that didn't belong to him, yet chose him anyway. Do you regret it? She asked, eyes on the stars ahead. Leaving everything behind? He didn't answer right away. He thought about his family, his city, his life. Then he shook his head slowly. No, because if I stayed, I would have been running. Now I'm moving forward. There's a difference. His voice carried no fear, only purpose. She glanced at him, a faint smile touching her lips. They passed through a cloud of debris. A broken space station floated by. It was once a research hub. Now it was just metal bones. Jack stared at it, wondering how many places like that had already fallen. She opened a small drawer and pulled out a silver band. It was smooth and thin, etched with alien symbols. "Wear this," she said. "It'll help the core stay balanced with your body." Jack slipped it onto his wrist. A soft warmth spread through his skin. He felt the core respond, humming gently. It wasn't heavy. It felt like it belonged there, like it had waited for this moment. She sat beside him finally. "We're heading toward the Nova Belt. There's a station there still untouched by their reach, a place where rebels hide, where voices still rise against the silence." Jax leaned forward. "Are they like you?" She shook her head. "Some better, some worse, but all willing to fight. That's what matters now." Her eyes were fixed on the stars again. He wanted to ask her more, about her past, her people, her real name, but he didn't. He sensed that some things were still too heavy to carry out loud, so he waited. The ship slowed as it approached a glowing field of light. The Nova Belt shimmered like fire trapped in space. Behind it lay the rebel base. Hidden, shielded, alive. Suddenly, alarms lit up. The ship shook. A large cruiser had locked onto them, black and silver, no markings, no warning. It opened fire without hesitation. She jumped to the controls, swerving hard. Blasts streaked past their wings. Jax held onto his seat as the ship rolled. The core's light pulsed with intensity. It wasn't afraid. It was awake. "Hold the core steady," she shouted. "I'll fly us through." Jax gripped the orb, letting it hover near his chest. The energy wrapped around him like a second skin. They dove into the belt. Fire and rock flew past them. The enemy ship chased close behind, but it was too large, too slow. She guided their ship like wind cutting through storm. With one final burst of speed, they passed through the shield. The enemy cruiser slammed into a wave of light and vanished. Behind them, space went quiet again. Jax let out a breath and looked at her. "That was close." She nodded, calm as always. "That's only the beginning, but you handled it well." He looked at the core, then at her, then at the stars beyond the glass. "So what now?" She turned to him with a steady gaze and answered, without hesitation, "Now we show them what this doll can really do."